Her last name is what? This is the,
That is not for pencil sharpening.
I get organized. See, I don't know.
It's in the cupboard,
I
yeah.
know. Why does the water have bubbles in it?
Because it isn't boiling.
Probably because the inside of the container has got lots of air trapped to it and the water hasn't moved the air off.
Bubbly.
Don't know. Hopefully they should go now. Yeah, see, it's clearing. All the bubbles are going up.
Oh,
So I didn't wash the container. I'm growing bacteria to immunise me. Right, so the physics is actually conceptually quite difficult this term, as physics usually is. Physics is all about how and why, how the universe works, and that's quite a big subject to deal with. The other subjects in school that addresses how the universe works is religion. You couldn't have two subjects that are quite so opposed or together or whatever. That's your problem to sort that out in your heads ourselves.
was it last year that we learned about the eye and the?
Yeah,
And was that in physics or?
physics. Yeah.
Okay.
Last year, you had a relatively easy introduction to the difficult concepts of physics because we were doing waves. And in fact, you had Anna here pretty much all the time.
Except for the when you had to.
Yeah, the outside. I am hoping I'll be okay to teach you, but wouldn't hold out much hope actually. So you learned about waves and oscillations to go up and down like that. You learned about light, reflection, refraction. You learned about sound. Thank you. You learned about electromagnetic radiation, the stuff that is invisible but enables us to live the life that we want with Wi-Fi and stuff like that. Hard to tell.
What was the gamma ray and the ultraviolet?
Okay, what were they? Okay, you did a project on the electromagnetic spectrum.
I did it with both.
And this, well, they're all waves. They all have an oscillation going up and down. What oscillates? An invisible magic electromagnetic field. And we're most familiar with light. So this is visible light that allows us to see. We cannot see light, but our eye detects it, so we see with light. You can see a light, as in a lamp, an object that produces light, but you cannot see the light going from one place to another. So already we've got a little bit of a brain bend with physics. Hang on 1 minute. So visible light is just one tiny part of a whole band of things. And we've got ultraviolet, infrared, infrapulminum, microwave, radio, we've got television waves in there as well. Over the other side, we've got the more dangerous stuff. Ultraviolet causes skin cancer. X-rays go through the body, can image the body. They can also cause cancer. And then we've got gamma rays. Sorry? Yeah. Yeah. At this end, where the waves get very squashed together, their wavelength decreases, their frequency increases. You've got the more nasty stuff. There are some radio microwave frequencies that do interesting stuff to you, but on the whole, they're not dangerous, which is just as well because we've got billions of the waves going through our brains at the moment. That's how Wi-Fi works. Okay, and anybody who could listen into these frequencies who didn't know much about human civilization, there's a lot of pollution in these frequencies that we are now producing, radio and microwaves. And we get very upset, Airless, if it doesn't work. If it works, network is down. Now, that's the grade 7 chunk of work, and it kind of stands on its own.
Most of it I didn't even know. And it's
Well, it says something about the work you did last year.
I know this stuff. Okay.
Okay, Arcel, you had a
Um,
question.
What's the reason that we don't see light because it's too fast? Or because it's invisible?
Light is invisible. Radio waves are invisible. Heat is invisible. We can see the effect of it,
And there's waves all over.
yeah, but we can't see. We can't detect them.
And what,
Our eyes can look towards something and say, okay, there's light because I can see this bottle. There's light because I can see you. Radio waves, you'll need some sort of radio detector for it. A lot of the time we don't even realize that we are detecting these waves. We detect infrared because we feel warm. We've got all these built-in detectors, yeah? And then ultimately, yeah.
to verify, what's the fastest light speed, the speed of light?
Yeah.
Okay.
300 million meters per second.
Oh, damn.
To the moon and back in 1 second.
Oh, that would be a nice car.
Ultimately,
Is there any like stronger radiation than gamma?
what do you mean by stronger?
Or like less frequency or like more?
They've all got a lower frequency. Are there any radiations that can do more damage than
Yeah.
gamma? Yes, depending on what you are trying to damage. Okay, because there are some things that are, okay, let's think of it. What's more dangerous, a bullet or a cannonball?
Bullet.
Bullet.
Okay, but what if that cannonball actually hits a boat and all the people on it drown? Is that more dangerous than a bullet?
No.
Depends on which way you use the boat. The boat has dangers.
Bullet can kill one person. Cannonball can kill loads. So it depends actually what you're doing with it, the situation with it. Okay, so you'll find an awful lot of questions get answered with questions now. This is physics. So some of you are now thinking, oh God, first lesson of the year. Already I'm being posed with these nasty challenges. How do I get through a test in this? Don't worry, I can only test you on the really simple stuff. Unfortunately, that simple stuff this year is going to involve some mathematics. No! Just get over it, okay? Bitter pill, take it, get over it. It's
What
not
has to
fun,
be done
okay?
has to be done.
Because physics gets very mathematical. This is the year in which it's really introduced to you as being very mathematical.
So next
Because
year.
we are going to study the physics of force.
Oh, and gravity will be included.
Including gravity. Force. I can already see some of you, you're happy, it's the New Year smiles, they're fading. There's nothing so boring as force.
No, force. Soon,
I
some
know.
genius will do a force there, he'll touch you flat.
But
And that genius might be you.
most of you have got a very, very good instinctive understanding of force. Otherwise, you couldn't walk upright and not fall over on the ice.
Go to the gym. Get some fun.
Yeah, go to the gym, work out with some force.
No, me.
Do we have any cheerleaders?
One.
You insane person. Okay.
No.
Probably not.
I must admit, since coming to Finland and seeing usually grade 8 girls coming in with bruises. I have had to revise my view of these pom-pom, whirling, swirling cheerleaders. And I think anybody who can be a cheerleader is absolutely amazing, because you have to be a gymnast and you have to be strong. Because when it goes wrong, it hurts. Yeah. Broken anything from it? Not yet. Touch wood. Yeah, okay. So, Monday morning used to be fun with one particular year group. There used to be 3 or 4 people in the classroom with massive bruises or bandages or... So what were you doing? Cheerleading. Okay, it's a contact sport. It is a sport. Gymnastics with a huge amount of strength. Don't believe it? You try lifting each other up above your head.
It's kind of the same thing like in ballet, because there's usually only one person lifting another one.
Okay, now ballet is pretty amazing because
What's up with your phone?
of the balance
Make your phone
that you've got.
You have to put like your own weight.
Yeah,
Oh, I'll do.
yeah, yeah. I mean,
Savage.
okay, you don't have
Smart.
stacks and stacks of
What's
people,
up with the women?
but the control that you've
Wait.
got over your balance is huge.
I told them 100 times.
I will try to refer to sports and stuff like that when we're talking about force, but I've got to admit,
Football.
yeah, football. But
Glad.
what happens with football now? Oh, you're a Premier League player. Your legs are insured for €3.5 million each. So you better not tackle.
Everybody goes for money nowadays.
Yes.
Like, yeah, like today,
So-
like he's trying to increase his money. Break his ankle.
Oh, yeah.
Same thing in
If
basketball.
you're gonna be
You know Steph
good
Curry? He gets money if he
at a
gets some
sport, you've got to be instinctively good at forces. Except perhaps chess.
Basketball's crazy.
What happened with
Steph Curry can
Can
dunk
you
over
think
a
of a
car.
sport which doesn't have some sort of real mastery of forces?
Is magic a sport? No, I mean like illusionist or some crazy man.
Guys, in athletics, sometimes we do like weightlifting, and you need like a lot of force, like weight, to lift the weight, and also the balance.
Athletics, what's your main event?
My main is like, I guess there is like long distance, but then I've broken my arm in like hurdles, for example.
Curls.
Long distance running.
Yeah.
Curls.
Okay, so you're
Broken
looking
her
at
arm with curls.
producing the optimum force that's going to keep you going over a longest distance. What's
No,
your,
energy drink
what
is BS.
distances do you run up to? K, 1,000 kilometers.
Meters.
No.
1,000 kilometers, that's not even here to
800
Helsinki, man.
To 1,000.
It's right
Okay, so
to
medium distance. Yeah. Yeah, okay, so actually what you're doing there, the 800 is a bizarre race because it's the first distance where you can't sprint it. So you've got to deploy your muscles with the biggest force when necessary, but not too much because you can't exhaust
25
yourself.
rounds.
Okay.
Yeah, it's happened to me
They can
so
run
many
Yeah.
times.
to move
You
on
started too
5 minutes
fast,
back.
yeah.
Thumbs up out the nerve.
I was at a karate camp yesterday and I got kicked in the face.
Oh, that happened.
Definitely force, then, karate camp. Can you do the trick of breaking through the bricks?
No.
Yes.
You don't do that.
What about breakthrough like wood?
And then out of nowhere, she
Yeah,
said,
but
break
even
through a wall.
Part, I think, I don't know a lot about it.
Shut up, I'm gonna break your hand.
Part, I think, of what's so amazing about these martial arts is knowing exactly when to employ the maximum force so that you inflict the most damage. It's not just about mindlessly kicking, is it?
Yeah.
So that I'm surprised you've got a bit of a bruise.
Yeah.
Not much. I wouldn't have noticed
It
it if
was
you
an
hadn't.
accident because
Yeah.
Your friend said, "Oh, you got some shit."
Also,
How do you call those runners, like the really skinny ones, which run like a really long time? Like,
long distance runners.
yeah, the ones which can run like maybe 25 rounds and things like that. What speed do they?
10K. 10K is 25
Yeah.
times.
Like what speed would they run here until like maybe like from here maybe like to how much time would they run here to Old? No, I mean here like maybe to Muhos, 20 kilometers. And how much time would they run that?
To run to Mulhouse, if you were a really, really, really fast runner,
Kenyan man.
yeah. Let's say Mulhouse is 20 kilometers.
Yes.
Hour and 40 minutes, hour and a half.
That's crazy. By walking it's 4 hours or 5 or 6. Those are crazy people.
No, it's not.
It is actually. Where we live, like it's halfway, so it's 4 hours.
Well,
Miksi se on kävellyt Muhokselle? Ei se ole kävellyt Muhokselle.
Oh!
what's the furthest you guys have ever run then?
Me, the furthest I've run is
10?
maybe 10
What was your
kilometers.
10K time?
Like 2 hours or something.
Oh,
More
sis.
than an hour.
I had it play also. I think.
Yeah.
Take someone who runs a marathon. You're gonna run around all in 10 minutes.
Some of you are going to go on to run marathons and half marathons. It's not impossible.
I mean,
I know too many people who run marathons. They go like maybe like to run at like they say like I'm going to run to the shop. And you like sometimes you feel like they lie to
Goodness,
you.
what are you lot
They're just so
like?
quick.
You shock me.
They're like,
You
yo
shot
man,
me.
go and yeah, 2
Well-
minutes. Like shit, you want
Well-
to go market with 10 kilometers.
Okay, the fastest marathon time at the moment in the world is, I think, 2 hours, 3 minutes. Okay, 42 kilometers.
Ooh, that's madness.
A lot
If
of
you take your
people,
bag.
a lot of fit adults can run under 4 hour marathons. Not impossible.
What? No, but I mean like, if he was like to, no, he would actually like imagine if
Anyway,
he took your
we
bag.
digress
It's
a
not
little
yet.
bit.
You wouldn't.
So,
Yeah, that's better. 10 kilometers.
Admittedly-
The whole time.
with something like running, you're looking a lot at minimizing forces and damage from forces, because you can't run long distances and have forces that you can't control in your legs, or so you end up getting injured. Yeah. Whereas in some sports, you want to have the maximum possible force because you want to karate kick somebody, or you want to throw the lightest one of your cheerleading gang to the top of the pyramid. Okay, so you're looking at maximizing or minimizing forces. Yeah. Boxing. Now, apparently, there were less injuries, when boxing didn't use gloves, when it's bare knuckle fights.
Because there were more kills.
No,
Oh.
because when you wear gloves, it doesn't hurt your hands so much to hit someone around the face.
We have gloves too. It means more than.
Yeah. If you are punching someone, you got bare knuckles, and you punch their jaw, my goodness, that hurts. You end up breaking your knuckles. So actually, boxers tended not to do that. Because if you are fighting and you think, okay, if I hit this person, it actually might hurt me more than it hurts them, you don't do it because you want to win the fight. Whereas now, wearing gloves and the bands around your hands inside the gloves actually means that you take more risks and you can have more punches to the head, and boxing is now very, very dangerous. Yes.
But one thing, like if I put the wrapping bands and I hit like even the sack as hard as I don't feel anything.
That's the problem. You don't feel anything, your opponent does. Your opponent ends up with some sort of head injury.
But it's actually fun. You feel like invincible. You don't feel no pain.
Everybody has their own definition of fun.
Yeah, like,
Okay,
sakto, que mulai. Nothing continue.
thank you. Now, the traditional way of looking at forces, we have to kind of pick it apart. Star Wars. Someone had to say it. Okay.
Wars.
Tell me more about the Force in Star Wars, then.
It's cool.
It's a madness.
What you mean? It's low temperature.
Just cool in general.
It's just cool in general. What does the Force
Abdul.
do in Star Wars?
Manipulates people
In what way?
in every possible way.
You can carry someone without touching them. That's madness.
Okay.
Yeah, I can carry you without touching you. I only take like a message
So-
and I can take it from the shirt. Yeah, I carry you.
If you get bored enough on a Sunday when you're thinking about your lesson,
Finding metaphysical power that unites all living things in the universe.
Do we take the lights
Of
off?
course, that's just from
it's
Star
only 3
Wars.
minutes.
There's nothing like that in the real world that people could use to levitate objects or influence people's decisions. Or is there?
Does the Force
I must be warned,
exist?
I'm kind of obsessed with figuring out how I can attain real superpowers. Powers like the ones we see in sci-fi films and read about in comic books. In past episodes, I've explained how to get an Iron Man exoskeleton and heal like Wolverine. In this episode, I want to find a real-world equivalent of the Force. Darth Vader and Obi-Wan Kenobi talk about the Force as something that's all around us, that's ever present. They can sense changes to it, use it as a form of telekinesis, or to manipulate someone's mind. If we're looking for a real-world equivalent of the Force in our own universe, we should start by looking at the 4 fundamental forces. These are gravity, electromagnetism, the strong force, and the weak force. Gravity is the force that attracts physical bodies to one another. The strong force is what binds protons and neutrons inside the nucleus of an atom. The weak force deals with radioactivity and subatomic particles. Electromagnetism is the interaction between electrically charged particles and magnetic fields. If I were looking for a force in our universe that most resembled the force in the Star Wars universe, it would be electromagnetism. It's stronger than gravity and has a longer range than either the strong force or the weak force. We're surrounded by electromagnetism, and it affects all matter with an electrical charge, which is all life. But even if electromagnetism is all around us, can we use it to sense our surroundings? Can we sense a great disturbance in the Force like Obi-Wan can? Or sense the Force in another person the way Darth Vader does? Well, sharks can. They have an organ called the ampullae of Lorenzini. This organ allows them to detect the electromagnetic fields of the objects around them. They can sense great disturbances like a ship with a large magnetic field moving through the water, or small ones like a fish that's about to become lunch. But anyone that's ever read a comic book featuring Magneto knows that magnetic manipulation only works on metal objects. We couldn't use electromagnetic fields to throttle the windpipe of an insolent subordinate the way Darth Vader does, right? Wrong. All objects can be influenced by magnetic fields. Metal objects are just more susceptible to them. If something like a human being is less susceptible to magnetic fields, that simply means we need a stronger magnetic field in order to manipulate it. If you have a strong enough field, you can levitate a living organism, like the frog in this video that's being held in midair by a high field magnet. Electromagnetic fields can also affect people mentally. If you direct magnetic fields at different areas of the brain, you get all sorts of responses. They can be used to completely pacify a subject so that nothing at all bothers them, such as 2 suspicious droids passing through a stormtrooper checkpoint. They can be used to make someone hallucinate, like hearing a bunch of rebels on the other side of the hangar. and they can even be used to alter someone's sense of morality, so it may seem okay to go over to the dark side. So the Force is with us. We just have to learn how to manipulate it. For that, check out the future episode of Science Friction that takes on Magneto. Thanks for watching. Be sure to subscribe and check out some of the other episodes of Science Friction that tell you how to fly, turn invisible, and freeze time.
Yeah, turn.
And as always, we're fundamental forces.
Okay.
Turn invisible. Yeah, I can do that. I mean,
So,
just for that.
he's trying to show that all these weird and wonderful things that are in science fiction, they actually could be reality. And that's always the way. I mean, if you look at the stuff that we've got in our lives at the moment, it's unimaginable even when I was born. An internet? Wow. Okay. Imagine what someone who was born 300 years ago would make of it all. Yeah, no TV, no Facebook. Well, your Facebook is not what you're into, but no Snapchat. Okay, now there are 4 fundamental forces of nature. And every force we think of can be included in those. Physicists think that all forces come into one of these 4 categories. And what they're actually trying to do is link these together into what's called gut theory, grand unified theory. Now, actually, in grade 8, we don't worry too much about that. You studied a bit about electromagnetism, the electromagnetic spectrum last year. The weak and the strong interaction, we kind of ignore. We mentioned it very, very briefly in grade 9, but they're to do with inside the atom and inside the nucleus. Gravitation influences our life big time. Okay, so when we're talking generally about large lumps of solid or liquid or gas, large lumps of matter, gravitation comes into play, and also electromagnetism, because those atoms are made up of electrical charges, and the electrodes are the key to it. So they are the causes of force. And that guy's saying, well, you know, Star Wars, may the Force be with you. That could all be down to electromagnetism. Well, yeah, it's not totally wild. We can influence things at a distance without touching them. That's a very, very important aspect of physics. Now, unfortunately, to understand these, we have to go to a really, really simple level. And some of you may have studied this before, some of you won't. It's irritatingly simple, but sometimes the most obvious things can be the most confusing. Like, why do things fall downwards and not upwards? Why do magnets pull apart or repel? If things fall under gravity and gravity always pulls downwards, why can't it go the other way? You probably never thought of that. Can you have anti-gravity? How would you do it? Okay. We've got to start with the really, really obvious things, but again, some of this might be very confusing. And for that reason, it means that there is no such thing as a stupid question, so don't be afraid to ask. Okay? And that goes for everybody. So I now have another video for you. It's really, really irritating. But it gets the point across.
Are we watching the whole video?
No, because whoever did this video did the same thing on a repeat loop. So it's only about 3 minutes long, but there's 11 minutes of it, as I found out while I watched the whole darn thing.
Nothing in the world moves without force. A rock won't just fly through the air out of force. It takes a push or a pull to some force, my dude. So run up to it and give it a big hit. It went flying far, that's motion, no trick. And if you gave it less force and kicked it softly, it wouldn't have gone as far. You got me? And if the ball weighed 50 pounds, it would have been really hard to kick around. It takes less force to move things that are light. That's why it's so easy to pick up a mic. And it's way harder to pick up a brick. That's it. Now let me drop the hook real quick. You need force to make an object move. It won't move without force, that's true.
Hei, olen Sanna. Suunnittelen Sannan
It won't move without force, that's true. A push or a pull will move it around, but friction will slow it down. You need force to make an object move. It won't move without force, that's true. A push or a pull will move it around, but friction will slow it down. So you know it takes force to make something move. It also takes force to make it stop, that's true. So when you kick a ball to your friend Lou, and he kicks it back, he applied force too. But then why does the ball stop on its own? When you kick it, why doesn't it keep going? It slows down because of friction. Friction is a force of resistance. When the ball rolls and touches the grass, then those two surfaces interact. And friction from the grass on the ground is what slows the ball down. But what if it were ice instead of grass? Would the ball roll less or roll more, you ask? Ice is smoother, so there's less friction, kid. That's less force on the ball. Are you getting it? The ball is gonna go farther. Like surfers when they surf on water. Water and ice are slippery and smooth. They have less friction, so it's easy to move. You need force to make an object move. It won't move without force, that's true. A push or a pull will move it around, but friction will slow it down. You need force to make an object move. It won't move without force, that's true. A push or a pull will move it around, but friction will slow it down.
Yes, it really does go on another 5 times. Now you have an earworm. Happy New Year. Right, 3-minute break. Go stretch your muscles. Leave your seat. Feel some force.
I don't like the force of gravitation.
Why?
High on this planet. I think we should all move to Mars, or might I suggest move? Actually, any moon is solar system.
Somewhere where it takes less effort to do stuff. Yeah.
It's more so we forget.
Nora, that goes for the shortest distance. From your seat to the table, I did see you went. Happy New Year.
Oh my!
Yeah.
Yeah, it looks way short. But it's gonna grow.
No one. Actually, no, she's wrong group. Someone probably doesn't when we start. Yeah.
Am I that heavy?
The other group. Okay, come back, people.
Yes, we did die. Oh,
The Harry Potter. Harry Hill. Hey, Halpahali. Harry Hillman. Oh, you know Halpahali is 2 H's? Harry Hillman.
Hey, I got that.
So,
Hey, if the la cuenta si no era más, bro.
we are going to study this year then, actually finally write something. I've just put in the YouTube links in case you want to watch those again.
No, I don't like the friction will slow it down.
The second video actually has some fundamental errors in it that we, apart from the fact that it repeats, and hopefully by the end of the topic you'll understand that there are some errors in there. Okay, so we are basically going to study forces and motion. There's a whole chunk of Ilmia about it. I think it's called Liga ja Voima. And
Is that the translation
yeah,
on the?
and that is the grade 8 physics. So, what is force in Finnish? Voima. That's gravitational force.
Oh. So
Now,
what's gravity?
final. Voima.
Oh.
There are lots of different forces that have names. There are confusing names in Finnish as well. We have to be careful with our vocabulary. I'm glad you said Voima. It is not teho. What is teho?
Power.
Blender.
Blender.
Teho is right, isn't it? Yeah, it's not tehos. It's teho, yeah. Tehokas is like powerful, but I've also heard people call it forceful. Because in everyday life, we use words like power, energy, work, to have very general meaning. Come on, open the door, use a bit more force, use a bit more power, use a bit more energy. Okay, we can't say that in physics lessons. We've got to be very precise. Work, believe it or not, has a very specific physics meaning. By the end of this topic, you'll know it. So, I'll try to give you the proper translations. Motion, That's okay. There's no problem with that. But there are problems with some other words. Okay. So it takes force to make an object move. Forces cause
But then a car.
or try to cause motion or a change in motion. Motion's just another word for movement. A force doesn't always move something. It will try to move it. There might be other forces stopping that motion, like friction.
But it means,
Yeah.
so if you're trying to push a car yourself, so what's stopping? It means you don't have enough power. You don't have enough force.
You don't have enough energy to create the force that's going to move the car. So if you try to push a car yourself, there's an opposing force. There is a resistive force.
Which is
Friction.
called weight.
No.
So there wasn't
There
friction,
might be if you're pushing it uphill.
but otherwise, if the word wasn't to be friction, the car would move. Logic.
Okay, so forces cause or try to cause motion. Okay, forces are pushes or pulls. Very simply. Some forces have specific names. Some of them don't. In fact, most of them don't.
It's a tree.
It's a tree. No, I'm just waiting for you to catch up.
What is that person doing?
It's an apple tree.
Reading.
Isaac Newton.
Oh my god.
Well, I can actually.
I've read 3 books.
Okay, so which force am I
Gravity.
Gravity.
Okay, gravity.
And that's, what's his name, the one who...
Isaac.
Sir Isaac Newton. It's amazing,
The
isn't it,
apple
how
fell
from a
down.
bunch of random squiggles you could guess that that's Sir Isaac Newton. Yeah.
Did the apple fall on his head?
No, it did not.
It fell in front of him or near to
Yeah,
him.
it didn't actually hit his head.
He was just like, oh,
It's a.
what's going on now?
Okay, Sir Isaac Newton, very clever dude, 1660 or so in
How old
the
was
UK.
he?
He was quite young. He was in his 30s, I think, if not younger. And he did loads of things in science. He decided there were 7 colours of the rainbow. He found 6, but he was superstitious, so he said there were 7. Honest. If you look in a finished textbook to learn the colours of the rainbow, there are 6.
No, we have 7.
I did 21.
In Ilmia.
Oh, okay.
How did you get 20?
Okay. Sir Isaac Newton identified 6 colours, but because 7 was a highly significant religious number, 7 days of the week, 7 deadly sins, that sort of thing, he said that between blue and violet there was indigo. So then there could be 7. Actually, there are millions of colours of the rainbow, because they all merge into each other. So he did stuff with light. He did stuff with mathematics. he was one of the people who came up with the whole mathematical field of calculus, which is beautiful and complex. He is alleged to have had an apple fall on his head while he was sat under a tree in his parents' orchard while he'd escaped from the Great Plague of London, because he was a bit of a wimp and didn't want to die of it, which maybe is quite normal. Yeah,
What's the force equals last time?
he came up with that as well.
So Lowry,
he
we
was a
were
bit of a
wrong. It
smart
fell on his head.
dude. So he actually came up with the idea of how gravity works. Now you, as a young child, a very young child, learn that gravity works, and your parents hate you for it. Not really, but they are so fed up with you picking up your rattle that you've dropped or the bottle that you've dropped. It's a great game. You are doing physics. Throwing things on the ground. Cats do it all the time. Oh, and Isaac Newton invented the cat flap as well.
Cat what?
Flap.
What is that?
Little flap in the door that the cat hits its head against so it can get out. Means you don't have to open up the door for the cat. We don't have many of them here because Isaac Newton didn't live where it was minus 30 degrees Celsius. So he came up with very, very many theories about gravity and forces. And one thing about gravity is that it always acts downwards. Okay? And this was something that may be obvious, but it's really important. Force has direction, e.g., gravity acts, and I'm not going to say downwards because you're not, bless you, PYP kids. You deserve to be told the truth.
Thank you.
Where does gravity pull?
To the center of ground.
To the center of the object that is doing the attraction.
So it means in the center of the earth. I don't know. Maybe I don't know.
Yeah, to the center of the object attracting. It, the other object. Mostly the earth for us. But not necessarily. If you're on the moon, be the centre of the moon, and Lowry would get his wish that the force of gravity was a little bit weaker. Why is the force of gravity weaker on the moon? Lowry?
Because the moon is lower in mass than Earth.
Yeah, the moon is lower in mass than Earth. Good, well done. The mass of the Earth that we ordinarily call weight is lower. Yeah.
So when like people go to the moon, don't they wear like really heavy suits so that they don't like just fly off?
No, because the moon has some gravity. You are not without gravity when you're on the moon. In fact, you are never without gravity. So if I could grant Lowry his wish of no gravity and take him to the middle of space, empty space, no planet, nothing like that, he's going to be lonely. So Lowry, would you like to take a friend?
Yes.
Who would you like to take?
Come on. Okay, it's done.
Asa, because he would die from a lack of oxygen with me.
Okay, so you don't have to write this bit. We now have, oh, I can't draw you properly. We now have Lowry.
Yay!
And we have Esa, who has just died. And they're in the middle of space. They are made of stuff, atoms, mass. And because they have got mass, they actually create gravity. Which means that in space, away from everything else, Ezra's gravity is going to pull Lowry towards him, and Lowry's gravity is going to pull Ezra towards
We're
him.
gonna get attracted to each other
Yes,
in several ways.
and believe it or not, you already are. We are all attracted to each other because we have mass.
me.
And you are, I'm
Oh,
afraid,
man.
attracted to the table.
Oh, you table, you're great.
You are attracted to anything that has mass. Now, actually, the amount of attraction is really, really, really tiny. It's about 1 billion, billion, billion of the attraction of you on the earth and the earth to you. Lowry.
So technically, it's possible that if I went somewhere just floating in space, like small rocks could start getting attached to me, eventually I could become a planet.
Yes, that's how it happened.
I don't remember that.
Amazingly, I've got to admit, I find this mind-blowing, but these atoms out in space, billions and billions of years ago, after the Big Bang, once this load of energy had exploded and mass had formed, those masses began attracting to each other, and they began forming stars, dusty areas around stars that were planetary disks, and that's all because of gravity. So gravity is the force effectively that has determined the structures of the universe that we see. You can say God did it, that's fine. Okay? But maybe you just say God created this clever thing called gravity. Maybe you could say that gravity had to create God if God is made of matter. But anyway, it's mind-blowing. But yes, every atom in the universe attracts every other atom with a tiny amount of gravitational force. When you've got loads and loads of those atoms, you've got loads of gravitational force. So it is not just our Ezra and Lowry combination that attracts each other. We all do. Yeah.
Is gravity based on like positive and negative charges?
No, because when you've got positive and negative, you've also got an electric force.
Yeah.
But when you've got something like a neutron that has no charge, it's neutral, that also has got gravity. Gravity is because of the quantity inside something called mass, the stuff that it's made out of. Yeah.
Are you attracted to a thing which is like, for example, 4 kilometers away?
Yes.
Can it be like even longer distance?
Yes.
No,
We
not-
are
not
attracted
particularly.
to the sun. We are attracted to Pluto. But the further away something is, the weaker that attractive force is. So, for instance, if we think about all these planets move around the sun because of the gravitational force of the sun, the moon moves around the earth because of the gravitational force of the earth, but actually also the moon is influenced by the sun. We do have a gravitational attraction because of Jupiter that is measurable. It's tiny, but it's measurable. There will be gravitational attractions because of the nearest other star, 4.2 light years away. But you have to add them all together to work out the total gravity. So actually, the tides, do you know what the tides are?
Aren't there something to do with the sea?
Yeah.
When there's
We
low
don't-
tide and high tide.
Yeah. You don't actually see the tides here in Oulu very much.
More where the sea. And aren't the tides something to do with the moon?
Yeah, the tides are to do with the moon. Who had their hand up?
Mina.
Yeah. Go.
That isn't it like the same theory when you have the bucket of water and then you spin it, but the water doesn't fall.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Similar. Here
The water
we
doesn't
have
fall.
the Earth. You don't have to write this down. And here we have the moon. Okay? When the moon and the Earth are closest, the water is loose on the Earth. You need a wind and it will blow up some waves. It's quite a loose layer. When these are very close, the water is attracted towards the moon and the sea level rises. Now, when you've got a huge area of sea, you notice it. When you've got the Gulf of Bothnia, which is not a huge area of sea, you don't notice it.
Oulujärvi.
The Oulujärvi will have tides. It will have a high tide and a low tide, but it's going to be really, really difficult to actually notice the levels.
Entä Jäälijärvi?
Yeah,
Yeah, boy!
this will as well.
It's moving.
But yeah, that's because I've shaken it, but it will have a tide. Twice a day, it will have a high and a low level, but it's absolutely tiny. Yes.
So even puddles have tides.
Yes, but you might find that the wind, the weather has a greater influence on those levels. Our fluid flow inside our body has tides as well. Amazing. Okay, so getting back to this. Okay, we've got gravity, and it has got a direction. Okay, so gravity's got a direction. Forces have a direction. Okay, now less easy to think of another example. It's a ball, and you're about to kick it. Or you're about to push it. No. What's going to try to stop the ball moving? Yeah.
Friction.
Friction. And what is friction in Finnish?
Wait, I know.
Lauri? Thank you. Now, friction is a massively clever force. It's there when something tries to move. And that friction is going to be opposite to the push on the ball. The friction may be big if it's grass. If that is ice, it's small. Okay? Friction always tries to stop movement. It reaches a maximum value, then things can move. Bless you. So you are getting on a bike, you start the bike going, and it takes more force to start pedaling because you're overcoming something called static friction, standing friction. And then you can keep going and keep pedaling. But if you stop pedaling, friction's still there and it will slow the bike down. So it's actually a very clever force. We would be completely in a mess without it. You look in pain.
No.
You get it?
Yeah, I get it.
Yeah. We would be a complete mess without friction. You wouldn't be sat still for a start.
That would be so cool. I'd be just like sliding.
Yeah, you'd be sliding all over the place.
No.
The lowest friction surfaces that you kind of are familiar with are ice surfaces. But even then, if you walk right,
You don't.
you're not going to fall over, you're not going to slip. Yeah,
Is friction there even if there's like a downhill?
yeah.
What if the whole world was like a downhill?
That'd be nice. Your whole room would go down with it.
Yeah. Now, if you are sat on a grassy slope and you're on the hill, you are going to be pulled down. So you're sat there, yeah, because your weight is pulling you down. Friction is like this, and they don't exactly balance out. You're going to slowly move down. If that grassy slope is actually snowy,
It's gonna be nice. It's gonna be letting.
you're going to slide down it. But actually, the problem with you sat there, because your bum and your feet dig into the snow, you need a sledge. So you need a good area, and that will then reduce the friction. Or you need ice. You're just going to slide right down. Yeah.
Like,
Oh, you should kill yourself.
what surface has like the biggest friction?
Very interesting question. If it's a solid surface, one of the biggest surfaces that has friction is actually hairy. Yes, of course. Yeah. Gecko feet. Now, geckos can climb up really, really smooth glass, vertical. And what they are doing in their feet here, they have got tiny, tiny little hairs. And those hairs actually interact with the atoms in the surface of the glass, and they rely then on an electromagnetic force between them.
Oh, so like Magneto and
Yeah.
combined.
Yeah.
Magneto Man.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or Spidey Magnet.
I don't know. I think this might be an obvious question, but I don't know it. So
That's fine. You need to ask these things.
Why don't our like the bottom are
What
hair?
We've worn the hairs off over time.
What?
So when I was born, there was hair.
No, long time ago, long time ago. Yeah.
Oh.
Do newborn babies have hair all over their body? They haven't. No, newborn babies have a different type of hair. It's very, very fine. Anyway, no, we have evolved a way to have it. Now, actually, when you look at our feet and our hands, we've got something that has evolved so that we grip better. Fingerprints. They help us grip. Both of it.
There's actually a Finnish word for the hair that like babies have on the
Yeah, there is a word in English, and I don't know what it is, but there is a.
In Finnish, it's haikua.
Is that all over the body?
No, it's like always a little bit like a baby's hair is normally called pipeline.
Yeah,
You mean baby hair?
newborn baby hair. Yeah.
Is it
Okay,
true that baby hair stays on your head until you die?
No. So, where were we? Yeah. So that was a high friction surface. Friction always tries to stop movement. Right. We will talk about friction in two very clear ways. It's either a good thing or it's a bad thing. Sometimes we want it, sometimes we don't. We want friction to be able to write. Yeah.
I just realized that in ballet, when you have like the small area,
Yeah.
on the point shoe, you have to have a bit of friction so that when you are doing a pirouette, you can spin, but you don't like fall over.
Yeah.
That's why we use like water. Like we dip the shoe and one point like in water so that it doesn't have that much like something, I don't know.
Rotation?
Yeah.
So it will create more friction, because presumably the point gets worn smooth.
Yeah.
So when
So
you've got,
it's slippery.
so it's slippery, but the water will actually reduce the slip on it. Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah. I can see I'm going to be thinking about physics in a slightly different way here. I'm going to have to do some ballet thinking. Useful friction. Okay. Not falling over when walking. Fairly obvious. Writing.
Hate it.
Why is it useful with writing? Well, the surface of your paper is rough. Your pencil lead drags across the surface of the paper, and the friction makes part of that pencil lead stay. You can't write without friction. Okay? You actually can't sit on a horizontal surface without friction. Well,
That's
okay.
true. Floating
If
in the
you
air,
jump out of an airplane, you want to slow down. Okay? Parachuting. Any other examples? Laurie, is that a hand? Vaguely, it's
I
just
don't know
stretching.
yet.
Okay. Okay, let's see then if we can come up with. Yeah.
Would we drown without friction in Everything has friction.
No, because there's another force that comes into action in water like that. Would we drown without friction?
Alaska.
Now, I think probably swimming is a low friction.
Kalapuvi.
Karen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Non-useful friction. Non-useful friction. What? He asked to go to the bathroom. He did ask.
Oh, I thought he just left over.
No, he asked. He asked. Non-useful friction. Basically, if we want to go faster.
Like standing for head hard. Oh my god. Standing.
So, there have been all sorts of debates in the Olympics about swimmers. Swimmers usually shave off their body hair.
Esa does that.
Thanks for sharing. So, if you don't want to shave off your body hair, then
Wax it up.
there was a variety of fabric swimsuits that were introduced, not in the last Olympics, but the Olympics previously. And because of the low friction material, it wasn't necessarily the design of the suit, but the material that was used, it shaved something like 1,000th of a second off swimming times. Now that's enough to get you a gold medal.
Yeah.
So these suits were hotly debated in the swimming world. Were they allowed or not? It's often thought that shaving your legs if you're going to be a cyclist is going to save time. Actually, the reason why a lot of cyclists shave their legs is that when they fall off their bike, it's a lot easier to get the wounds cleaned if they get an injury. Okay, so that is, but not to a measurable value. In water, because there's more friction than there is in the air, if you can create something that's lower friction, it might have a measurable impact, like 1,000th of a second. But in cycling in air, something like leg hair isn't going to make as much of a difference as streamlining the helmet or something like that.
But it can be if you're like cycling a long distance, which usually is the case.
Yeah, but if you're cycling a long distance, 1,000th of a second
Can make a difference.
yeah, but it's not as important as if you were in a 100-meter sprint in the velodrome.
Yeah, that's true.
True, yes, yeah. Now, you're correctly arguing it will make a difference. And I'm saying, yeah, but. So often in physics, we have to say, what is the most significant factor here? Is it better to get the helmet, get a streamlined bike, sit in the right position, or shave your leg hair? Okay, and you end up analysing the situation. What's going to make the most difference? So, going faster, swimming, a car driving faster,
Ferrari, bike.
Bugatti.
No, not Bugatti.
bikes, cars, etc. But then we often quite want them to stop. So actually, then we have
That's why there's
useful
brakes.
friction. We need a braking force. Brakes work because of friction. Okay, now moving on about this friction, and we now have a bird. Let's see how badly I draw it as to whether it's going to be a seagull or a duck. That's more like a seagull.
No, that's a chicken.
It is not a chicken. It is in water.
Chickens love water. They even
A
drink
duck.
it.
Wrong beak for a duck. Okay. Now, why doesn't the duck, seagull, sing?
Double knock.
Because their feathers have like oil on them.
True.
Yeah.
And they have those like
Okay. Why doesn't a boat sing?
I got it.
It's not. A boat's made out of water.
No, wait.
Gravity's pulling it down. What is stopping it from going down? Yeah. Laurie? No. Yeah. No.
the wood.
What?
Thing coming from.
In Finnish, anybody?
Don't pretend I'm fine.
Why don't we
Wait, I think there's only gonna
What's different if we start trying to float on water or then someone attaches a few bricks to us? What stops us from sinking down? If we don't have, no, weight makes us sink down.
Yeah.
Okay, in English, it's called upthrust or buoyancy. And in Finnish, is it nosta or nosto?
I was thinking that.
Yeah, you didn't say it, that's what counts.
Nosta voimaa.
Pushes up in water. It also pushes up in air. But you only really notice that if you're falling a long way through the atmosphere. So these are forces that have got very specific names. We quite often just talk about a pushing force or a pedaling force or a jet force or a thrust. Okay. Right. Resistive forces, e.g. friction, slow movement, or they try to stop it. In English, there's also drag, which I think is kitka, also in Finnish. Drag the force, not drag dressing up in other clothes.
But I'm a drag queen.
Air resistance, okay. So there are resistive forces, and usually when you've got a resistive force, it works in opposition to a motive force, something that tries to move. Okay, are there any
Questions?
yes questions?
Ei tuntilappu jäi.
Yeah.
Eikä oo Eelis.
Oh, wait, I have one.
Yeah.
Doesn't the nervous system in your brain like move faster than the speed of light?
No.
No. Oh, no.
No, because the nervous system relies on electrical signals, and that actually takes some time to get through your body.
If your brain would work faster than speed of light, you would see. You can even like go through something.
It's pretty fast. It's faster than human reaction time because the message
Yeah,
gets,
talking about exactly.
yeah, it gets really fast. So you pick up something hot, your nerves register that much quicker than your brain does, because your brain has to think, oh, I've just picked up something hot, ow. Whereas the message, it's hot, has gone there.
And also like when you fall, but then your leg like stops from falling.
If your brain's working, yeah.
Yeah.
Balcony.
Have there ever been a experiment where there would be like some diseases tested with like actual human beings by like other human beings?
The gravity, I didn't hear all of it.
Like, so have there ever been like any diseases that could have like been tested with actual human beings by human beings?
Oh yeah.
but like by them inserting like bacteria into them.
Of course.
Yeah.
Actually, it was the vaccination against smallpox was the first time that was ever done. And lots of doctors tried doing it on themselves, and then there were some nastier people who did it to others. But yeah. Okay, no homework because that would just be cruel.